Welcome back to my channel. I am currently doing dishes. I have a few minutes, so I thought we would sit down and talk about my home birth. It's been about 2 months now, and so I am back to making videos, and I really kind of wanted to just sit down and share my thoughts with you guys. And so I'm going to finish this, and I will head into my room and talk about the home birth. Okay, so now I am done with dishes. I've got my water. I've got a massive basket of laundry over here, and we're just gonna have a really quick kind of sit down chat about my home birth. Before I get into it though, click the subscribe and like button and the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos, and comment below on if you've had a home birth or what your favorite part was, or if you have any questions for me. I'm probably going to be doing a question and answer video with my husband about home birth and kind of his thoughts and the perspective of the husband, because I don't think that's talked about a lot. So that's going to come pretty soon. So first off, let's just talk about why I decided to do a home birth. Again, I have a whole playlist on like my pregnancy this time and kind of how I got to the point where I wanted a home birth. And so if you are interested in that kind of topic, go ahead and check out my pregnancy playlist. But essentially, I wanted more control over my birth experience. I wanted like it to be peaceful. I wanted there to be like no noise. I wanted it to be dark and quiet. I really wanted a water birth. That didn't happen, but I will talk about that in a little bit. But I pretty much loved my birth experience with number 4. It was a very long pregnancy. We went 41 weeks and 4 days, so almost 42. He was a large baby, being born at almost 10 pounds, 23.5 inches, and so we were quite surprised when he came out. Waiting for him was well worth it. I had a lot of anxiety about why he wasn't coming earlier. Like I had said in my previous videos, all of my kids were before 40 weeks, and so I was also expecting him to be before 40 weeks. Well, God had other plans, and that is how he ended up coming at 41 weeks. Overall, I think it was a great experience. If God ever blesses me with another one of his children, I definitely think that home birth is the way that we will go. We just had, again, a really great experience. The midwives were very patient and understanding. They really got to the bottom of like what Andrew and I wanted as far as like the experience, what our questions and fears were. They were very knowledgeable. All in all, they were really great to deal with. They were very kind and all of that. So coming down to the day that I gave birth, I had had 2 false labors before this, and so I had my 41-week checkup. That was a Tuesday, and we had talked about the midwives breaking my water twice before, but the first time my cervix wasn't as ripe as they wanted, and so we didn't do it the first time. And then the second false labor, once my contractions stopped and they checked me, they couldn't feel his head anywhere. That's kind of a quick wrap up. Again, if you are wanting any more like elaboration on any of these things, it's all on my pregnancy playlist. We were talking about breaking my water. Well, when they came, it was a Tuesday morning, and they came. We did our like routine exam with the questions and all that. We weighed, measured, listened to baby's heartbeat. Everything was fine, but the cervix was a little bit more dilated. Not to where they wanted it, but enough to where it was a possibility. But they just wanted to kind of see, again, if my body would do things naturally. And so they did not strip my membranes this time. They had already done that twice, and baby still hadn't come. So having all of this like anxiety about everything, I was just done with the trying. We had tried castor oil, we tried herbs, we tried like pregnancy teas, we tried sex, we tried walking, we had tried a few rounds of the mile circuit, Nothing seemed to be working. I tried pumping to do that. We tried all of the tricks, but nothing was happening. And so at that point, I just gave it up to God. And I was like, you know what? Whenever this baby is ready, he's going to come. And so I let go of all control right after our midwives left. Well, she did check me, like I said, to see how dilated I was. And so after she left, I did feel some cramping and I did have some residual like bleeding from the exam, and I did keep having these cramps. Well, I just thought they were cramps from the exam. I wasn't getting too excited. Remember, we had 2 false labors before this, but I was just very mindful of the cramps, and they were not painful. They were just really crampy. So we were going throughout the day. We went on a walk. We went to the park. It was a nice day, and my mother-in-law was here. My husband was at work. Throughout the day, the cramps started to get more intense. They were not regular by any means, but they would come, they would plateau, and then they would fade. So I was again mindful, but not expecting anything, because my previous 2 false labors told me that anytime they were just gonna stop on their own once I started to get like serious about them and like time them and get excited and all of that. So I didn't do any of that. I had kept having bloody show throughout the day. I had kept having very pink mucus, but I didn't again have any hope. I did let my midwives know that I kept every time that I would wipe, I would get a little bit of bloody mucus. They were very excited to hear that, because they had also been with me through my 2 false labors also, and so I think they were really expectant as well. My husband came home, we started making dinner, and we were having cheeseburgers, we had like homemade french fries in the oven, and broccoli. As I was making the burger patties, I was starting to feel kind of like a growth in discomfort, and then kind of like it went away. And then a couple minutes later, I would feel, you know, a rise in discomfort, and it went away. Now, again, I had had cramps all day, so this was like a step up as far as intensity. So I kind of got a little excited, but I didn't say anything to anybody just yet. We were making the burgers. I went out to grill them. I brought them back inside. We got the potatoes done and the broccoli finished, and I was setting the table, and I kind of had a moment where I needed to stop and kind of like breathe through it. It wasn't painful, but I had to breathe through it. So my husband was in the kitchen with me at the time, and he kind of looked at me, and I kind of did one of these like things, and he knew what that meant, because we had been through this before 2 weeks ago and 1 week ago. As we were setting the table and getting everybody kind of ready for dinner, they kept coming and going, coming and going. They weren't regular. There was like a break of 2 minutes, maybe a 5, 7, 3, and then there was like a 12-minute one. So at the 12-minute one, I was like, it's gone. Like, it's gone again. Well, we sat down to eat. I had to use my birthing ball at the dining room table. And so as I was sitting eating my burger, and like I was doing one of these, like on the ball, you know, just like moving my hips back and forth and just rolling around, I got a really, really strong contraction. And it was like I was telling a story to my children, and everybody was watching me, and I kind of made this face like that. And my daughter was like, "Are you okay, Mommy?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm having a contraction." And everybody got so excited. Oh my goodness, they were so excited. So I finished my burger and my plate, and then I just kind of excused myself. I didn't make a big deal about it. And while I was in my bedroom by myself, I had like 3 super strong contractions, and they were like back to back. So once I had those 3 contractions, I went back out. My husband was doing dishes. My mother-in-law was playing with the children. And I had told her, you know, we're going to try and do baths tonight with the kids and get everyone to bed early, because the night before they did have kind of a late night. Well, after the 3 contractions, I needed my husband to come into the bedroom, and so we came in here, and he closed the door, and I turned to him and I said, this might be it. Like, I've had really strong contractions all through dinner, and then I came in here and I had really like 3 very consistent strong contractions. So what should I do? And so he said, you know, text the midwives, see what they want you to do. I text them and they said, this kind of sounds like it could be the real thing. Keep us informed if the contractions get more intense, or if you start timing them, if there are any like patterns of time. So I started timing them at that point, and this was around like, I don't know, maybe like 6 o'clock, 6:30, somewhere in between there. And so my husband went back out, he finished the dishes, and then we said goodnight to the kids. Baths didn't happen, so they went upstairs, and my mother-in-law was with them. She like read them stories and put them to bed and all that stuff. She's amazing. While we were in our room, I was on the ball and we started watching some of our show that we were watching at the time, and I was having contractions the whole time we were watching. But again, they were very inconsistent. There was one that was like 7 minutes apart, then we had like a 13-minute one again, a 2-minute one, but they weren't overly intense. So we watched the first episode. It was like 45 minutes long. Pretty easy as far as the discomfort level. We watched the second one, and then I noticed that they were starting to get a little bit more intense. And then by the third episode, I needed to close my eyes and breathe and rock through them. So I pretty much was very concerned at that point for the arrival of our son. I looked at my husband. I said, why don't you go ahead and call the midwives? So I did text my midwife, and she said, okay, like, I am packed. I have everything in the car. Whenever you feel that it's time for us to come, you just text us and we will be on our way. Well, being me, I still didn't believe that I was in labor, and so I just went on watching the rest of our third episode. By the end of that third episode, I told my husband to have his mother take the kids to the hotel. We had got a hotel, and to call the midwives because I couldn't talk. I was going, you know, when you're in those intense active labor contractions, you go inward, and that's what I was doing. I was very concerned that we wouldn't get the pool up in time, and so right as the children were walking out the door, I followed behind them to go say goodnight to them because I wasn't going to see them, and I didn't know, like, if there was going to be a new baby when the next time I saw them. So I just went outside. I could feel a contraction coming on while I was outside, so I kind of quickly said goodbye to them. I came inside and I like closed the door and then like leaned up against it and had my contraction. It was very intense, and so I pretty much at that point knew it was go time. I turned to my husband. I said, get that pool ready. He started blowing it up, and I mean, it took him about 5 minutes to blow it up and like move the furniture and everything. I was in our bathroom, leaning up against the counter, and I couldn't talk. All I could do was sway, and that seemed to help. I'll put like a little like video clip of me while I'm talking. I was just in the bathroom swaying because that's all I could do. The bathtub was being blown up, but I honestly felt that I did not have enough time to fill it up. After a few contractions of me in the bathroom, I called my midwife. She said she was on her way. The other midwife lived like, so we're like here, one midwife lived here, one midwife lived on the other side. So they were both coming, but she was closer. So she was like, you know, our other midwife is not going to be here probably in time, but she was going as fast as she could. So she started walking Andrew through some things that he could do to help calm me down, because he was very concerned about having to deliver this baby by himself, which I think would have been cool, but that's maybe for another baby. So I was in the bathroom having my contractions, swaying back and forth, and then all of a sudden, with one of the contractions, it was just like, I need to push. Like, I felt that I could have pushed and birthed a child on my bathroom floor. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to the pool, but there was maybe, like, by this time, maybe like 3 or 4 inches of water in there, and I was like, oh, the pool's not going to be ready in time. But I was holding out. I was trying to hold out until that contraction where I wanted to push. So I called my husband in and I said, I have to push. And he went as white as a sheet, guys. He was like, no, you're not pushing. Don't you dare. So he called our midwife back and was like, what can I do to stop her from feeling that she has to push? So they had me come into the bed and lie on my side and breathe through them, and that really helped. It was super effective. It kind of slowed them down. They were still really intense, and all I could do was moan through them, which is fine. But I was 6 centimeters dilated that morning at our appointment, and I felt like I could push at that time. Well, she didn't get here for another, I don't know, 25 minutes, so I was on the bed, like, going through these contractions, and each time I did feel like I had to push, but because I was laying on my side, like, gravity wasn't helping that. So I finally made it through. She got here, and you could just see the relief on my husband's face when she walked in our door. I was like, oh my goodness, you don't have to do this by yourself. Like, you can relax. It was really funny. Anyway, right when she got here, she asked me if I had to push, and I said that I did. She said, I'm going to check your cervix to make sure that, like, you are fully dilated and that you really do have to push, and it's not just like the bag of water, like, bulging down, because my water still hadn't broken. She checked me, and as soon as she checked me, my water, like, erupted everywhere. And I'm going to put a picture above. This was taken a few days before I gave birth, and that's how big I was. But it wasn't baby. I mean, my son was almost 10 pounds, 23.5 inches long, so he was a big baby. However, most of my hugeness was fluid, and all of that shot out of me when she checked my cervix. I mean, it was... The towels on the bed were sopping wet. They were soaked. And she goes, oh, okay. And as soon as my water broke, it was like an instant pressure was like, you have to push now. I told her, I said, I have to push. She said, whenever you're ready, let's get this baby out. And so I kind of took some steadying breaths because I didn't want to, like, start screaming and being like a crazy person. I don't know if that happened or not. That's going to have to be for you to decide on your own what noises I was making. But I started getting really nauseous as soon as she broke my water. And sure enough, with every contraction, I threw up. So for most of my, like, home birth labor, like the labor part of my home birth video, my face is in a bucket because I'm actually vomiting. I've never done that before. With the three of my children, I've never vomited before, so I'm not really sure what that was about. But anyway, she's telling me to push, and I'm pushing, and I'm breathing through my contractions. One of my big things was that I didn't want to tear during my labor, and so she really coached me on, like, pushing and then backing off and breathing. In the hospital, they tell you, like, push, push, bear down, get him out. Well, that does not allow time for everything down there to stretch and stretch and stretch. So I was very grateful to her for, like, coaching me, like, push really hard, then stop. Have the contraction, like, use the contraction to push and then back off. Come to find out, I did not tear. Like, the amount of tearing that I had, she said, was so minimal that it would cause more damage to repair it than to let it heal on its own. I mean, I didn't feel anything. And so, like, the next morning after I gave birth, I was up walking around. I was, like, putting dishes in the dishwasher. It was amazing. So I was super glad that I didn't tear. I was super thankful to her to, like, coach me through that. So as I was pushing, I had the ring of fire, and she was like, I see the head, I see the top of the head, I see the eyebrows, I see the nose, I see the mouth. And then the head was out, and I was so excited. Then she said, take some deep breaths, and we're going to push for the rest of the body. As I was pushing, I didn't feel like I was making a lot of progress. She told me that if she needed me to move into a certain position, that I needed to do it right away. And so that didn't, like, concern me, but I also kind of knew maybe it was something was, like, getting stuck, and maybe that's what was impeding his, like, the rest of his body coming out. while I was pushing, his shoulder had just gotten stuck. That's all it was. Like, this part of his shoulder was out, kind of, but this was stuck. And so she was like, I need you to flip onto your hands and knees right now. And so as I was flipping over, he shot out of me. And in the video, you can hear, like, it's like a splat, like a, like if you were to have a wet surface and then drop something on it, there would be like a splatting sound. That was my baby falling out of my body. Nobody caught him. He fell on my bed in the middle of all my amniotic fluid and other things. And she was like, oh my. So he was born, and it was so, like, it was the most amazing feeling ever. To be in my home, to be in my bed. It was dark and it was quiet. It was literally the three of us. It was me, my husband, and our midwife, and then our baby. I don't think that I could have really asked for a better experience. I would have loved to get in the tub. There just wasn't any time. There just really was not any time. But I was very thankful for the opportunity to have birth at home. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and I will always be willing to share it with anybody who asks and anybody who wants to listen to it. But after he was born, I did want to delay cord clamping, and so I got to hold him. His umbilical cord was extremely long, so I was able to hold him fully on my chest while I was doing the afterbirth. However, it was also getting, like, caught or stuck, or something was happening, so we did some pushing on my back to try to expel the placenta. That wasn't working. We tried to do it on my hands and knees. That wasn't working. I was making a little bit of progress, but I don't think it was going along as fast as she wanted. And so she had me get off the bed. I was holding our son, and he was still attached to me, and then I feel like it's super gross. My placenta was still inside. I made my way to the toilet, and we were going to try to birth there as well. I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and it was like really, it wasn't painful, but it didn't feel good. It did not feel good. I don't know if it was, I don't know why it hadn't detached right away. I don't know why it wasn't coming, like, naturally. But we labored on the toilet for about, I would say, another 5 minutes, and nothing was happening. So she moved me back onto the bed. I started to have little contractions again to expel the placenta, and then it did finally come out. All in all, it was about 20 minutes, which is about the amount of time that I wanted to delay cord clamping anyway. So I got my wish on that part. After the placenta was born, they put it in a bowl, and they cleaned him up very minimally. I mean, he was still on my chest and in the towels that he was born into. And so I was holding him, my husband was next to me, and she says, you know, do you want to see the placenta? And, like, they laid it out, and they were able to tell all of the coolest, like, factoids from my placenta. They were able to tell, like, where it had implanted. They were able to say all of these really cool things just by looking at it. And I really wish I would have gotten it on video, especially for the kids, because they really wanted to see it. After the afterbirth, I got cleaned up. My husband was doing skin to skin while I took a shower. That was only a couple of minutes. And I got right back into bed, and I had skin to skin with him, and I let him find his way to the breast, and we nursed for, I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes on each side. And then he fell asleep. The best part about the home birth for me, right after the placenta was born and I got cleaned up and they cut the umbilical cord, we looked at the placenta and they said, okay, we are going to go out into the living room. And by that time, the other midwife had come. She missed the birth, but she was there for, like, the cleanup and everything like that. They literally went out into my living room. They cleaned up the pool. It was unused and so sad They put the furniture back. They cleaned up everything. They started a load of laundry. Before they left, they changed the sheets while I was in the shower. So they took all of those really yucky, disgusting sheets and they put them in the washer. And they documented, like, you know, the birth and everything. And so they were out there for about 2 hours. And not one time did they come in and check on me. It was my husband, myself, and our son in our bed snuggling. I don't want to sound corny or cheesy, but it was completely magical. Like, I was so, like, high from all the hormones and the oxytocin just raging around in my body. And it was just so lovely to just be us three. We had these lamps on and no other lights. It was dark outside. Everything was quiet and peaceful and calm, and he was making these little noises. Oh, and my heart was just exploding. Beyond a doubt, that was my favorite part. And it was just great. It was so amazing to have that time together as a new family. I will cherish those memories forever. After those 2 hours, we weighed him. It was incredible to see that he was that heavy and that big. They cleaned up in here a little bit because they didn't want to disturb us while we were bonding and all of that. And then they went home. They went home. And it was just us again for the rest of the night. And it was just, I guess at this point it would be morning. I think they left around like 1 o'clock or so. But I stayed up for another 2 hours. Oh. Somebody's awake from their nap. Hold on. This guy woke up from his nap. Oh no. Say hi, everybody. I'm telling the story of how you were born. No? Right. We're gonna change his diaper. So then I went to bed, and that concludes the birth of this dude right here. Would I encourage a home birth? Absolutely. Would I also have another home birth if I got pregnant again? Absolutely. And that's the problem, is that we were supposed to be done having children, but it was such a magical experience that I would love to go through it again. What? That was about 2 months ago. Like I said, I'm just now getting back to making videos. So I really wanted to sit down and kind of just go start to finish as a chat, a talk through of my labor. It was amazing, and I highly encourage you, again, if you have any questions about home birth, to please leave them in the comments below. Before you leave, hit the like and subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And I will see you guys in another video when I do another update on this guy. See ya!